Hello there, you amazing internet and beautiful creatures of the beyond. Hope you're doing well today or tonight. Um, I was looking online and I see this big uprising in the AI revolution against the machine. Well, most against the corporate machine, of course. And this is just a small rant of mine, um, but with a little twist. If you look around, I mean, if you look into the news, you see that there's a lot of people protesting about the potential loss of their jobs and how big corporations are trying to push this message. Oh, we want this. Well, let's call them intelligent algorithms. So, what is interesting about these intelligent algorithms is that they make our lives quite easy as a programmer or as a designer. It can speed up your work exponentially faster. So, for example, I've been using that easy diffusion, and before I used to browse for hours just to find things that I really like for inspirational purposes and to get them as references to make my own things. Now, this diffusion like mixes things up, and unfortunately, there are a lot of creators that are on ArtStation, and a lot of the prompts and results come from there because there is so much beautiful art happening there, and DeviantArt and other places. But ArtStation is the main target for these searches. So basically, this intelligent algorithm goes to, let's say, a big search engine like Google, Bing, whatever, and just browses through the results, catches all of these images, and kind of blends them in, photoshops them in. And they're impressive, but they're not artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence implies that it is aware of what it is doing, and it can have an opinion about that, or maybe it can refuse to do that. So obviously this is programmed so you're giving it parameters, you're feeding it information, outputs, and it input, sorry, and it gives you an output. So let's take this galaxy, for example. I can just go on any of these algorithm and say I want a spinning galaxy that is in space, blah blah blah, is surrounded by stars, has an orange hue, has a cinematic something something, and it's rotating and animated, and give it all of these tiny details, and then bam, you get this. Obviously, this is not generated. I just went to Pixabay or Pexels. I can't remember right now. I'll put the link in the description. And this is what I'm talking. This is human creativity. Human creativity cannot be reproduced by an algorithm, at least not to the degree that we can be inventive. Because at the end of the day, this algorithm is mashing up the work that we have come up with. It does not generate it out of nowhere. It does not understand the principles. It looks for keywords and for tags that are attributed to all of the works that we have done in the past as artists. And then it recognizes that what we wrote in our prompt matches the tags and keywords that are there related to the picture, because these tags are inputted for the purpose of search engine optimization to be found easily online. And that has always been the case for this competitiveness to sell your work online and to get it as exposed as possible. Little did people know that this exposition would be detrimental because it could be taken. You could have watermarks on it. This intelligent algorithm don't care about that. They can remove watermarks. They can do whatever they want to your work, piece of work, and then the moment they change it, you wouldn't know it was yours because it has little elements that resemble your work, but then it has mixed it up so much that there you go. You can't recognize it. So in a way, that is bad. But that is because we're looking at this from the classical experience. We are still thinking, oh, AI should, I mean, this intelligent algorithm technology should mm, apply to our own morals and principles and techniques of how we do things today. But no, this is gonna revolutionize and change the way we work forever. Think about people that do WordPress templates. This will just generate them on the fly, and we won't even need to bother creating templates from scratch. We would just ask for a beautiful template that is, for example, hotels or traveling or what have you, and we get a nice design with all the generated images and videos and buttons and actions and scripts and all that stuff. And then you just need to edit a few things here and there because right now, as it stands, this algorithm, for some reason, they cannot interpret text. I don't know exactly why, but their writing, their spelling is just horrible. I mean, sometimes it gets close, but not close enough. But still, this will be improved. I'm 100% sure. And in my opinion, Easy Diffusion really helps me to increase my productivity. And there are a lot of new popping AI that helped me in other projects that where I stood for hours just to make like some textures, and I wanted to mesh those textures and put them here and there and make some things interesting. But now it's just I just say, hey, I need a texture like this, and it has to be repeating. It's all about exercising your search keywords, let's call them. And when you refine this and you kind of get an idea of what you know how to search for something, you will get pretty interesting results. And the thing is, like, you can use the same search keywords to get al- uh, alternatives to what you just searched. So you can get a big palette of samples that you can play around with, which is amazing. And in a way, this removes big that tedious task to just go through a lot of data on your own. So this is like a very fast data browser or data filter. And I'm sure that at one point it will be regulated and there will be like, just like how search engine optimization can be counteracted by that robots text file. So for example, in a website, you can go and define that, oh, hey, I don't want search engine crawlers. They're like the little algorithms of their own, intelligent algorithm of their own that crawl up your website and collect the data, and they output it to Google and Bing and so on. So you can put a stop to that. So the same could happen on ArtStation. ArtStation could say, hey, all of these scripts that are like Easy Diffusion, Midjourney, and so on, we want them to be filtered out and not appeal to our website. Okay, so then you would have a big chunk of information that will be cut out of the database, let's call it. And of course, right now it's impossible to stop because, in my opinion, uh, these algorithms are starting to improve upon recognizing and fetching images on their own, and they can store them. This is the thing. Once you post something on the internet, it's there forever. Because if, well, in quotes, it can be deleted in some instances if it's not populated on or copied on other instances of the internet. But for example, if you post a picture on a very public domain, be sure that other crawlers and websites try to fetch this information and make a copy of it. And one good example of this is the Internet Archive. Internet Archive is this awesome site that collects all of the info, tries to copy all of the information on the known internet. And I found like really, really old websites there. You can make a request to remove a website if you're the owner, of course. You have to prove it. But the idea is that that is possible. So imagine that there are servers that you have no access to, or you have no idea that they're collecting your information there. So it can happen, and the same can happen with these scripts. They can fetch this data from websites without them knowing, and you can put all sorts of safeguards on a website to try to prevent um, this information from being taken from there. But keep in mind that you can do a screenshot, so it's easy to implement that in an algorithm. Of course, it requires a lot of processing power and resources, but it is doable. So it's for an algorithm, it's super easy. Just make a screenshot, take the image, go back, furbish it a bit, make it something new, and voila, nobody would know it is yours. There is, when you make a screenshot, you do not take the image, because the actual JPEG or PNG or whatever you take from a website, usually it has in some very specific parameters that you can kind of trace back to its origin. But taking a screenshot, well, that's a whole new thing that you cannot trace back to your original image. So it's easy to counteract. People think that technology is this complex thing. Well, it is complex, don't get me wrong, but it gotten to a point where the workarounds are so silly that it can counter everything. So on this point, I was thinking like this: like, let's think of this big movie industry that right now has the riots with well, not riots, the protests with all their writers, because they protest against corporations using their creative writing with these algorithms to generate new writing, thus replacing them. And writing is very important in this industry. And the interesting thing is, like, they could make an algorithm that writes for them a beautiful campaign for a new movie that one of their new an inventive algorithm created a script that made it really beautiful and so on. So they expect a lot of visitors. So they make this powerful ad campaign. They put a huge budget in it, let's say a few millions, and they launch it online. And then comes a troll online, and he thinks, well, let me make an algorithm that pretends to be a human. And it will react like a human to some extent, and it will show like, oh, it viewed this ad. So it can make it seem like this. Well, of course, it would be tricky to do it, but not impossible, because you need different IPs, regions, and so on, because it appeals to various demographic ages and stuff like that. But it is possible, it is doable. So he creates this algorithm, and he takes all of the views. Basically, he just clicks on the ad millions of times until he depletes the budget. And this company is like, whoa, everybody looked at this ad campaign that we have created. Let's make another. Bam. The same algorithm comes, depletes the budget. And in reality, this ad does not reach the actual humans. Of course, there are still safeguards to do about this, but think about this. There are a lot of bots, even on YouTube or Twitch and so on. They require phone verifications and stuff like this, but even those can be circumvented, and there are workarounds to avoid this double factor authentication, for example. And even if you put like, oh, click here because I'm human or recognize these pictures, well, we taught all of these algorithms to do that because in order for them to operate that way, those safeguards, we needed to input them into the algorithm. Now we can take the same algorithm and input back the data. So there you go. I hope you're all happy about the two-factor authenticator. Um, so he would make these false accounts, millions of them, and they can be old. They don't have to be new, but they can just react like humans and have an activity on their own. It's it will become pretty difficult to differentiate between an algorithm that mimics humans and real humans at one point. So they can destroy their budgets, and then the movie comes out, and they're expecting like a big sale, and then very few people go. They have very poor sales, and the company tanks. It goes head down, and they'll be like, "What happened?" It's like we had all of these views, we had everything prepared, and we lost so much money. And when you start losing like one, two, three, four, five movies, then it becomes really problematic because that company cannot sustain itself financially. So this is what I meant in my last video, that artificial the intelligent algorithms create artificial reactions on the internet. So they do not generate jobs, or they cannot even generate money on their own. But they are a very great tool for us in addition to our own capabilities if we use them right. So it can be very detrimental to these companies. Another idea, as I was talking about WordPress, um, in WordPress there is this amazing product called Divi, or Elegant Themes, which is really amazing in the sense of it can give you some very cool templates that you can modify. So you don't have to work a lot on that. And it's very useful. But there is a free and open source alternative to it, and I forgot its name right now. I can't remember it. Well, the idea is that you have everything that Divi has minus the templates, or you can go online and look for some templates made by other people, but usually they're not as the same high quality as Divi is. And Divi has some benefits to it. I'm not dismissing it just because it's a paid product, but it's a very useful product. So sometimes it is good to give some money to products that you want to support, and they give you the things that you need and improve upon the things that you require. And open source does that, but it does it much slower. So you can throw some funds at it through what are they called, donations, but you have very little guarantee that, because that's not their job. Open source means that people invest their own free time to create things that they like, but they do it out of their own requirements, out of their own taste, so it might not be fixed on what you need. While when you give into a company, you have some assurances. But now with these algorithms out there, it can be easily implemented into this open source project to go to the level that these paid products are. So it will become this huge battlefield on the internet where companies are going to start to lose ground, a lot of ground, because the open source community will create tools with these open source algorithms that will challenge the paid products. And they will try to create advertising and false advertising. I might say that you should not trust open source because this and that, and it does not offer what you want. But in reality, open source means that you see the code, there is nothing hidden. Uh, you have you can create your own things with that code or with those things that you receive, like Pexels and Pixabay give you the ability to use their content without even giving credit to the author. I like to give credit because I think it's uh, it's mutual respect between me as the content creator and them as the author of the piece of work that they posted. But of course, since they do not require it to give them any incentive to do their work, they're posting there what they feel like. And I'm looking at things that I'm more inclined to apply to my own projects. And I like a lot of the things that I see there. And there are many other sites that are like this. But you have to scour for them online. Now comes the intelligent algorithm and can make your life so much easier to appeal to all of these open source projects. And this is the key factor. What is open source? Open source means that you cannot own a code. Owning a code is like trying to put a patent or a safeguard on words, basically on grammar. So it's like saying you cannot use grammar in a certain way because I say so. And that in any political or lawful country, this will not stand, because that's like going around and saying, hey, you cannot use the words thank you anymore, which is like hello, saying hello world in any scripting program that you start coding. That's illogical. And code can be written in many ways, just like you can use grammar in many ways to say the same thing, but saying it through various uh, different phrases. But there will be a big pushback from these companies. I'm sure about it. And in the long run, it can go really bad for these companies if they start a war against the internet, because the internet is the will of the people in a way. It's where most of us escape to just do and watch stuff and expose our opinions. We basically expose a lot of ourselves. But when this algorithm come and create this shielding around us, it will create a big detriment to companies that want to get to our data. So think about these intelligent algorithms as a blessing in disguise. They can generate data to protect us, and it can push companies away from being so intrusive in our lives and exploiting us in ways that benefit them without any benefits to us in a way. So we shall see. In my opinion, the future is very interesting. And if you're a programmer or an artist or what are you, whatever you are, I think you should dwell into these algorithms, because you can implement them in your life to make some really interesting things. Don't uh, and this is an important thing I wanted to say. Don't think that these intelligent algorithms can replace us. Think about it like this. You applied to a hospital where, yes, they would do very precise work on surgeries and so on. But if you remove the surgeons out of the equation, what happens if a blackout comes? Who will perform the surgeries? Nobody. And you can't come with this excuse that, oh, we have a power outbreak and our backup generators cannot hold for long and our AI cannot perform the surgery. No, you need people to be there to continue doing their surgeries. And these algorithms should be there to aid them to improve their skill, but not become dependent on it. So the same should happen to us. If we become dependent on us to do our own pieces of work, then when something fails in this, let's just say you don't have access to the internet and you have to do a piece of editing with the client next to you. You can't just say, wait a few minutes, I have to ask somebody. No. Or give me some internet so I can do this thing. No, no, no. You will have to know how to do it. So don't rely too much on this. It's helpful, but don't rely on it. Go deeper into your own abilities to improve your own piece of art. But use this algorithm as a tool to get you the information that you need faster. That's all. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my little rambling. And I hope to catch you all next time. See ya. Bye 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 bye.